Hannah Kim pressed her back against the freezing metal wall of her prison cell. The alien ship hummed with strange energy that made her teeth ache. 3 days had passed since the trial that sealed her fate. 3 days since the Galactic Council declared her a mass murderer. She stared at her shackled hands. These same hands had built water purification systems that save millions. Now they claimed she used them to poison an entire world. The irony burned worse than the metal cuffs cutting into her wrists. The cell door hissed open. 2 Corvette guards entered, their insect-like faces showing no emotion. These creatures stood 8 feet tall with forearms and skin like black granite. One spoke in broken human language. Time for execution. Human scum. Hannah's heart hammered against her ribs. She had always imagined death would come peacefully in old age, surrounded by family. Not like this, not strapped to an alien torture device while monsters watched her die. The guards dragged her through corridors filled with other prisoners, humans, mostly. Some she recognized from the engineering corps, all innocent. All condemned for crimes they never committed. The council needed scapegoats, and humans made perfect targets. The execution chamber loomed ahead like a metallic tomb. Inside, a neural disruptor chair waited to scramble her brain into soup. Quick death, they called it. Merciful. Hannah wondered what these aliens considered cruel punishment. Move faster, fleshbag. Growled the second guard, shoving her forward, with enough force to crack human bones. Pain shot through her shoulder. She stumbled, but kept walking. No point in giving them satisfaction. If she was going to die, she would do it with dignity. The chamber doors slid open with a soft whoosh inside. Dozens of alien spectators filled viewing galleries. Members of different species from across the galaxy had come to watch another human die. Some recorded the event on holographic devices. Others placed bets on how long she would scream. The null chair sat in the center like a throne of nightmares. Cables and wires snaked from its surface. Each one designed to deliver specific types of agony before final shutdown. The executioner, a pale zenith with 6 eyes, checked his instruments with clinical precision. Hannah Kim of Earth announced the chamber's AI system in multiple languages. Convicted of genocide against the Terran colony of New Sol. Population killed. 2 million. 300,000 souls. Sentence. Neural dissolution. The gods forced her toward the chair. Each step felt like walking through quicksand. Her legs shook with terror. She tried desperately to hide. Round the galleries, alien voices murmured in anticipation. Any final words? Human. Asked the zenith executioner. His voice like grinding metal. Hannah lifted her chin. I'm innocent. History will remember that. Several aliens laughed. The sound reminded her of breaking glass. The guards strapped her arms and legs to the chair. Neural connectors pressed against a skull like cold fingers. The executioner began his final preparations, humming what might have been a death song in his species. Beginning neural mapping, announced the AI. Estimated time to complete dissolution. 4 minutes, 37 seconds. Pain exploded through Hannah's nervous system as the machine activated. Every nerve caught fire simultaneously. She bit her tongue to keep from screaming. Blood filled her mouth with metallic taste. Then the lights went out. Emergency klaxons wailed through the darkness. Red warning lights bathed everything in hellish glow. The neural chair powered down with a dying whine, releasing Hannah from its electronic torture. Hull breach in sectors 7 through 12, reported the ship's computer. All personnel to emergency stations. Explosions rocked the massive prison vessel. The viewing galleries erupted in chaos as aliens scrambled for exits. Guards abandoned their posts to deal with whatever was attacking the ship. In the confusion, nobody noticed the execution chamber's main door sliding open. Through the smoke and flashing lights, a figure emerged like something from human nightmares. Black tactical armor covered him from head to toe. No insignia or identification marked the suit. In his hands, weapons that belonged to no known military force hummed with lethal energy. The Zenith executioner reached for his sidearm. The armored figure moved faster than human reflexes should allow. A single shot from his weapon turned the alien into glowing ash that scattered in the recycled air. The remaining guards rushed him with typical alien arrogance. They had never fought a human soldier before. Within seconds, both Korthik warriors lay dead, their granite skin no match for whatever ammunition the stranger carried. Hannah stared in shock as a mysterious rescuer approached the null chair. His helmet reflected the emergency lights like a dark mirror. "Come with me if you want to live," he said in perfect Korean. His voice carried no emotion, no urgency despite the chaos around them. Just calm certainty that she would follow. Something about his tone made her trust him instantly. "Who are you?" she whispered as he cut through her restraints with a plasma blade. "Jinpok," he replied, helping her stand on shaking legs. "Though I remember little else about myself." More explosion shook the ship. Through the chamber's viewport, Hannah glimpsed impossible things, human fighters that moved like living creatures, dodging alien weapons with supernatural grace. This was no ordinary rescue mission. Jin guided her toward a hidden escape pod that had somehow materialized in the chamber wall. His movements were precise, calculated, as if he had planned this rescue down to the second. "How did you find me?" Hannah asked as they reached the pod. Jin paused, his helmeted head tilting slightly. "I don't know. Something told me you were important," before she could ask more questions. He pushed her into the escape pod and sealed the hatch behind them. The escape pod docked with Jin's ship in complete silence. Hannah expected to hear the usual mechanical sounds of airlock seals and pressure equalization. Instead, the connection felt organic, like two living creatures joining together. "Welcome aboard the Phantom," Jin said as the pod door dissolved rather than opened. Hannah stepped into the strangest spacecraft she had ever seen. The walls pulsed with veins of blue energy that reminded her of human blood vessels. Yet embedded within this organic structure were crystalline matrices that belonged to Zeltharian technology. Impossible fusion drives from the Keth Empire powered the ship alongside human plasma cores that should have exploded from the energy conflict. "This is incredible," she whispered, running her fingers along a wall that felt warm to the touch. "How does any of this work together?" Jin removed his helmet, revealing a face that looked perfectly human except for his eyes. They held depths that seemed far older than his apparent age of 30. "I wish I could tell you. I woke up on this ship 6 months ago with no memory of Billiot." The ship's bridge stretched before them like something from a fever dream. Human neural interfaces merged seamlessly with alien quantum processors. Holographic displays showed star charts in languages Hannah didn't recognize. Yet somehow she understood their meaning. "Sit down," Jin said, guiding her to a chair that molded itself to her body. "I need to tell you why I rescued you." The chair's surface tingled against her skin as microscopic sensors scanned her vital signs. Every system on this ship seemed designed to protect and comfort humans while incorporating the best technology from across the galaxy. "The Council isn't what people think," Jin began, his fingers dancing across controls that responded to his touch like musical instruments. "There's a shadow faction inside called the Purifiers. They've been systematically eliminating species they consider threats to galactic order." Hannah's engineering mind struggled to process the ship's impossible design while Jin spoke. "Why? Target humans? We're barely space-capable compared to the older races. That's exactly why they fear us." Jin activated a holographic display that showed human colonies throughout the galaxy, Red markers indicated destroyed settlements. Other species evolved slowly. Predictably, humans adapt to fast. In just 2 centuries, you've gone from primitive chemical rockets to building technology that rivals civilizations millions of years old. The display zoomed in on New Seoul, the colony where Hannah allegedly committed genocide. The planet's surface showed signs of biological warfare. Not the industrial sabotage she had been accused of causing. The purifiers used genetically. Targeted plague, Jin explained. It only affected humans. Then they blamed you for creating it through contaminated water systems. Rage filled Hannah's chest like molten metal. 2 million people died. Children, families, engineers who trusted my designs. They died because the purifiers consider human ingenuity a galactic threat. Your water purification systems were actually keeping people alive longer than expected. The colony was thriving instead of barely surviving like the plan. Alarms suddenly screamed through the ship. Jin's hands flew across the controls with inhuman speed. His movements a blur of precision that no normal human could achieve. What's happening? Council hunters. They tracked us. Jin's voice remained calm. Despite the danger, hold on. Through the viewports, Hannah saw 6 massive warships dropping out of hyperspace. Each vessel bristled with enough firepower to level a moon. The lead ship belonged to the Vorthan Empire. Their hull covered in bioorganic armor that could regenerate. From weapon damage. Jin, we need to run. That's a full battle squadron. Running won't solve anything. Jin stood and walked to what looked like a meditation chamber in the center of the bridge. They'll just keep hunting humans until none are left. The chamber filled with swirling energy as Jin stepped inside. His body began to change, muscles becoming more defined. Reflexes sharpening to supernatural levels. Whatever he was, human, was only part of the equation. Jin, what are you doing? Something I was apparently designed for. The phantom lurched as enemy weapons struck their shields. Energy readings spiked beyond what any normal spacecraft could handle. Yet the ship's hybrid systems absorbed the punishment like it was nothing. Jin's hands moved across. Neural interfaces that connected directly to his nervous system. The ship became an extension of his body, responding to thoughts rather than commands. Weapons that belonged to no known human design emerged from hidden compartments. The first Vorthan cruiser exploded in a ball of quantum fire. Jin had somehow destabilized their bioarmor at the molecular level, turning their greatest strength into a weakness. Impossible. Hannah breathed. Those ships have shields that can stop planet killers. Jin didn't answer. He was lost in the battle, moving the Phantom through space like a dancer performing a deadly ballet. The ship twisted between enemy fire with movements that defied physics, its hybrid engines creating gravitational anomalies that confused targeting systems. A Korvac dreadnought tried to ram them. Jin reversed gravity around the massive vessel, sending it spinning helplessly into its own support ships. The collision created a chain reaction that destroyed 3 more hunters. The final ship, a Zenith mind control vessel, attempted to override Jin's neural connections. For a moment, Hannah saw him struggle as alien thoughts invaded his consciousness. Then something deeper awakened inside him, something that had been sleeping until this moment. Jin's eyes blazed with energy that wasn't entirely human. The Zenith. Shep's psychic attack rebounded, frying every neural circuit on board. The vessel went dark and drifted lifeless through space in less than 10 minutes. Jin had single-handedly destroyed an entire council battle squadron using tactics that shouldn't exist. He stepped out of the meditation chamber, his appearance normal again, but his eyes still holding that otherworldly depth. How was all Hannah could manage. Jin stared at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. I don't know, but I think we're about to find out. The Council research station hung in space like a metallic spider web, its twisted arms reaching out into the void. Hannah pressed her face against the Phantom's viewport, counting the defensive platforms surrounding the facility. Each one bristled with enough weapons to vaporize a small moon, Station Erebus. Jin said, his voice carrying a strange familiarity. "I've been here before, but I can't remember when." The station's design made Hannah's engineering mind recoil in disgust. It wasn't built for research or exploration. Every corridor, every chamber had been designed with one purpose: causing maximum suffering to whatever lived inside. "How do we get past those defenses?" she asked. Watching patrol ships circle the station like hungry sharks, Jin's hands moved across the ship's controls, and suddenly the Phantom began to shimmer. The vessel's hull shifted color and texture, mimicking the exact appearance of a Council supply transport. "Holographic camouflage," he explained. "Another modification I apparently made but can't remember making." They docked at the station's cargo bay without challenge. Jin had somehow programmed their ship's computer to generate perfect Council identification codes. The security systems welcomed them like old friends. Inside the station, the air tasted of metal and fear. Automated systems hummed with alien efficiency while robotic sentries patrolled empty corridors. But underneath the mechanical sounds, Hannah heard something that chilled her blood. Human voices crying out in pain. "This way," Jin whispered, leading her through maintenance tunnels that avoided the main security checkpoints. They emerged into a vast chamber that stretched beyond sight. Row after row of containment cells filled the space, each one holding a human prisoner. Men, women, children, elderly people, representatives of every human colony in the galaxy. All of them bore the marks of horrific experimentation. "Dear God," Hannah breathed, her hand covering her mouth in horror. A nearby cell held a young man who couldn't have been older than 20. His arms showed injection marks where alien chemicals had been tested on his body. In the next cell, an elderly woman lay unconscious while machines monitored her brain activity. "They're using us as lab rats," Hannah said, rage building in her chest like a storm. Jin approached one of the monitoring stations. The alien text on the screens meant nothing to Hannah, but Jin read it like his native language. "Biological warfare. Testing." He translated. "They're developing diseases that only affect human DNA. The goal is complete species extinction while leaving other races untouched." The station's computer systems contained terabytes of research data. Project files with names like human adaptive response suppression and genetic termination protocols filled the databases. The Council had been planning humanity's destruction for decades. "They fear us," Jin continued. Reading, "According to these files, human technological advancement has accelerated beyond all predictions. We're developing faster than any species in galactic history." A soft alarm chimed through the chamber. Security robots emerged from hidden compartments. Their sensors focused on Jin and Hannah. But instead of attacking, the machines simply observed them with glowing optical rays. "Why aren't they shooting?" Hannah asked. Jin stared at one of the robots, his face scrunching in concentration. "I think I know these systems. Phoenix Protocol Authorization Zulu 77. The robots immediately powered down and returned to their compartments. Jin looked as surprised as Hannah felt. "What's Phoenix Protocol?" she demanded. "I'm starting to remember." Jin pressed his palm against his forehead as memories surfaced like bubbles in deep water. Earth's government knew about the purifiers years ago. They created the Phoenix Protocol as humanity's ultimate failsafe. More memories came flooding back in painful flashes. Jin saw himself in a laboratory surrounded by human scientists. They were modifying his body, his mind, preparing him for a mission he couldn't quite recall. 7 volunteers, he whispered, enhanced soldiers designed to activate when humanity faced extinction. Each of us was given different abilities, different knowledge sets. Hannah watched as Jim's eyes took on that otherworldly glow again. Whatever they had done to him was awakening fully now, triggered by the horrors they were witnessing. "We need to free these people," she said, moving toward the cell controls. "Wait." Jin grabbed her arm. "We're not alone here," through the chamber's main entrance. A figure in council military armor approached. But this wasn't an alien, the person inside that armor moved with distinctly human grace. "Operative 7, the figure called out. "You are not supposed to be awake yet." The newcomer removed their helmet, revealing the face of a human woman with silver hair and cybernetic implants round her. "Eyes, Operative 4, Jin replied, though he had no conscious memory of knowing this person. "Mira Song, your memory blocks are failing," Mira said, raising her weapon. "The protocol isn't ready for a full activation. You'll compromise the entire mission." "What mission?" Hannah demanded, watching innocent people get tortured. Mira's augmented eyes focused on Hannah with inhuman precision. "The survival of our species requires sacrifice. These test subjects provide valuable intelligence about Council capabilities." Jin stepped between them. "The protocol was meant to protect humanity, not sacrifice it." "You don't understand," Mira insisted. "The Phoenix soldiers weren't just enhanced. We were programmed with specific directives that override human emotion. I've been watching this station for months, gathering data while people died." Horror crept into Jin's expression as more memories returned. "They didn't just enhance us. They tried to remove our humanity." The truth hit him like a physical blow. The Phoenix Protocol hadn't created super soldiers. It had created human weapons without conscience or empathy. But something had gone wrong with Jin's conditioning. He retained his ability to feel, too. "Care about innocent lives. The programming is flawed in you," Mira confirmed. "That's why you rescued her instead of following orders. You're supposed to eliminate security risks, not save them." Jin looked at the thousands of human prisoners round them, then at Hannah, then at his fellow operative who spoke of murder like discussing the weather. "Maybe being flawed is what makes us human," he said. Alarms suddenly blared through the station. As Jin made his choice, instead of following protocol directives, he activated the emergency release systems for every containment cell. Thousands of prison doors hissed open simultaneously. Mira raised her weapon. "I can't let you compromise the mission. Then you'll have to stop me." The two enhanced soldiers faced each other across the chamber while liberated humans streamed toward the exits. The real battle for humanity's soul was about to begin. The emergency broadcast reached them as they escaped the research station with thousands of freed prisoners. Every human communication channel across the galaxy screamed the same terrifying message. Massive council fleets were moving toward Earth and every major human colony. "Planet killer weapons," Hannah whispered, staring at the tactical display aboard the Phantom. "They're going to wipe out our entire species in one coordinated strike." Jin's enhanced senses could feel something changing inside his mind, dormant. Neural pathways sparked to life as the crisis triggered deeper levels of his programming. But unlike the cold, emotionless directives that controlled Mira, these new memories felt different. They carried warmth, purpose, and something else he couldn't identify. "We need the others," he said suddenly. The Phoenix team was designed to work together. Alone, we're just enhanced humans. Together, we become something more. Hannah pulled up the station's research files they had stolen. According to these records, the Council has been tracking Phoenix operatives for years. They know where your teammates are. The files showed locations across the galaxy where enhanced humans had been detected. Most were deep undercover, their memories suppressed just like Jin's had been. But the approaching extinction event was causing their programming to surface. Minho, Jin read from the data. Stealth and infiltration specialist, currently operating as a cargo pilot on the mining station Kepler-7. Jasu Choi. Hannah continued. Tactical analysis and strategy. She's been working as a communications officer on the border world Titan's Edge. Each name triggered flashes of memory in Jin's mind. He saw faces of people he had trained with, laughed with, bled with during their enhancement process. The Phoenix team hadn't just been soldiers. They had been family. We have maybe 12 hours before the first planet killers reach their targets. Hannah calculated. Can we gather them all in time? Jin's fingers flew over the ship's controls. The Phantom's hybrid engine screamed to life, pushing far beyond safe operational limits. We have to try. Their first stop was Kepler-7, a massive asteroid mining operation in the Outer Rim. The station's docking bay was chaos as civilian ships fled the approaching Council fleet. Nobody noticed one more vessel requesting emergency landing clearance. Minho Lee stood in the cargo bay, loading supplies onto refugee ships. He looked perfectly ordinary except for the precision of his movements and the way his eyes constantly scanned for threats that weren't. There, Minho, Jin called out. The man turned, and something flickered behind his eyes. Recognition without memory. Do I know you? Phoenix Protocol Activation Code Omega Prime. Jin said quietly. Minho's entire body went rigid as suppressed programming surged to the surface. His appearance didn't change. But suddenly his presence felt dangerous in a way that made nearby. Civilians unconsciously step away. Operative 5 reporting. Minho said in a voice devoid of emotion. No. Jin grabbed his teammate's shoulders. Remember who you are first. Remember why we volunteered. For a moment, Minho's eyes remained blank. Then something human sparked behind them. Jin. What happened to us? I remember. Laboratories, scientists, pain. We were made into weapons. Jin explained quickly. But we chose to become protectors instead. Will you help me save our people? Minho nodded without hesitation. They found Jasu on Titan's Edge, coordinating the evacuation of 3 million colonists. Her tactical mind had already calculated impossible escape routes through council blockades when her memories returned. She wept for 10 seconds, then immediately began planning humanity's survival. Taeyang was pulling survivors from a bombed colony ship when they located him. His specialization was combat medicine and field surgery, but his hands could also kill. With surgical precision, the awakening hit him like a physical blow, but he adapted faster than the others. Soman emerged from deep cover on a council diplomatic vessel, where she had been gathering intelligence for months without knowing why. Her expertise in alien psychology and infiltration made her invaluable for understanding enemy tactics. The hardest to find was Hyunwoo Nam. His specialization was something the files called systems integration and technological synthesis. They tracked him to an abandoned shipyard, where he had been unconsciously building something massive. What is that? Hannah breathed as they approached his construction. The ship defied description. It incorporated technology from dozens of species, merged in ways that should have been impossible. Human creativity merged with alien engineering to create something entirely new. A weapons platform, Hyunwoo said as his memories returned. I've been building it for 3 years without understanding why. Now I know. The completed Phoenix team stood together for the first time in years. Each operative brought unique skills, but together they formed something greater than the sum of their parts. Jin could feel their minds linking through quantum neural networks built into their enhancements. Planet killers will reach Earth in 4 hours, Jasu reported, her tactical implants processing data streams from across the galaxy. Council fleets are moving into position around every major human settlement. How many ships? Minho asked. Over 10,000 vessels. Everything from battle cruisers to mooncrackers. Hannah stared at the impossible odds. 7 people against the entire Galactic Council. Not 7 people. Jin corrected. 7 humans. And that makes all the difference. The Phoenix soldiers looked at each other and smiled. They had been created as weapons of war, but they chose to be something else. They chose to be human. Hyunwoo's massive ship powered up, its hybrid engines creating gravitational anomalies that bent space around them. Where to first? Earth. Jin said without hesitation. We save our home first. As they accelerated toward humanity's birth world, the 7 operatives felt their individual abilities merging into something unprecedented. They were no longer just enhanced soldiers. They had become something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. They had become hope. The Council Armada filled space round Earth like a plague of metal locusts. 10,000 warships from every corner of the galaxy had gathered to witness humanity's final moment. Planet killer weapons charged their devastating rays while smaller vessels formed execution former. Shunts round human colonies throughout the solar system. They're not even trying to hide their formation, Jisoo observed from her tactical station aboard Hyunwoo's massive hybrid ship. Pure overwhelming force. No creativity. No adaptation. That's their weakness, Jin replied, watching the enemy fleet through enhanced sensors. They've conquered 1,000 worlds using the same tactics for millions of years. They can't imagine anyone fighting differently. The Phoenix team had spent the journey to Earth planning something no military academy would ever teach. Instead of meeting the Council fleet in direct battle, they would use humanity's greatest gift, the ability to think beyond established rules. Minho, you're up first, Jin ordered. Their stealth specialist smiled and vanished, not just from sight, but from all senses. His enhanced biology could bend light and energy around him in ways that made him invisible to even quantum tech. Shun rays. Within minutes, he had infiltrated the Council flagship. The alien commanders never saw him coming. Minho didn't kill them. That would have triggered automatic succession protocols. Instead, he reprogrammed their communication systems to broadcast false retreat orders throughout the fleet, confusion spreading through their formations. Taeyong reported from his medical station, where he monitored alien biorhythms, heart rates spiking across multiple species. They're receiving conflicting orders. Soman activated her psychological warfare protocols. Her understanding of alien minds let her craft messages that exploited specific fears in each species. The proud Vorthan received threats to their honor. The logical Zenith faced impossible paradoxes that crashed their decision-making processes. Now, Hyunwoo, Jin commanded. Their technology specialist had been busy during the journey, using the ship's impossible hybrid systems to create something that shouldn't exist. He launched millions of microscopic nanobots toward the enemy fleet. Each one carried a simple program. Find alien technology and make it slightly less efficient. The effect was devastating. Weapons that had destroyed planets for eons suddenly missed their targets. Shields designed to stop stellar explosions flickered and failed. Navigation systems that had guided fleets across galactic distances began reporting their location at the center of black holes. They're trying to regroup. Jisoo announced as council commanders attempted to restore order to their forces. Let them try, Jin said. Activating his own abilities, the Phoenix leader had discovered something during their journey. His enhancements weren't just physical and mental. They allowed him to interface with any technology, alien or human, as if it were part of his own body. He reached out through space and touched the minds of every human ship in the solar system. Cargo haulers became guided missiles. civilian transports transformed into electronic warfare platforms. Mining ships used their industrial equipment to tear apart alien hulls like tissue paper. Every human in the system became part of one massive, coordinated defense network. The Council had expected to face a desperate last stand by primitive humans instead. They found themselves fighting an opponent that adapted faster than they could. Every tactic they tried was countered before they could fully implement it. Every advantage they pressed was turned against them by human ingenuity. The planet killer weapons are charging. Hannah reported from her engineering station, 60 seconds to firing. Jin felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on him. His programming screamed at him to calculate optimal military solutions, to sacrifice whatever necessary for strategic advantage. But he looked at Hannah, at his teammates who had chosen to remain human despite their enhancements, and made a different choice. All Phoenix units, final protocol. He announced. The 7 soldiers linked their minds completely, sharing not just tactical data but emotions, memories, hopes for the future. Their individual abilities merged into something unprecedented. Human consciousness operating at superhuman levels while retaining everything that made them human, together. They reached out through the quantum networks connecting all human technology in the solar system. Every ship, every station, every piece of equipment became an extension of their will. But more than that, they connected with every human mind in the system. 8 billion people suddenly shared the same thought. We will not go quietly into extinction, the planet killer weapons fired. But their beams struck shields powered by pure human determination. Fusion reactors that should have overloaded instead drew power from humanity's refusal to surrender. The energy meant to destroy Earth was absorbed, converted, and reflected back at the Council fleet. Alien ships began exploding in chain reactions as their own weapons turned against them. Those that survived found their crews abandoning their posts, overwhelmed by something they had never encountered, the collective human spirit transmitted directly into their minds within hours. The great Council Armada was nothing but debris, floating in space round a very much alive Earth. But Jin wasn't finished. Using the Phoenix team's linked consciousness, he broadcast a message to every world in the galaxy. Not words, but pure human emotion, the desire for freedom, for cooperation instead of domination, for a future where differences made civilizations stronger rather than weaker. Species that had been enslaved by the Council for millennia suddenly remembered what independence felt like. Rebellions erupted on 1,000 worlds as oppressed peoples rose up against their alien masters. The old Galactic order collapsed in days. So what happens now? Hannah asked as they watched rescue ships helping the few surviving Council crews. Jin looked at her. His enhanced abilities finally under complete human control. Now we build something better. Together, the Phoenix Protocol had been designed to create weapons. Instead, it had created something far more powerful. Humans who could unite entire galaxies while never losing sight of what made them human in the first place. Jin Park, the man with no past, took Hannah Kim's hand and began building a future where every species could thrive, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple human belief that differences were meant to be celebrated, not feared. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity had always been best at, changing everything for the better. The end.